on this project introduction video. We appreciate you taking time to learn about this exciting project. First, I would like to introduce the members of the project team who will be sharing their knowledge with you today on this video. We have Joe Brown, Street Transportation Director, Ruben Lawley, Deputy Street Transportation Director, Jared Rogers, Deputy Parks and Recreation Director, Carrie Brown, Phoenix Arts and Culture Deputy Director, Tarek Momika, Project Manager, Moshkan Vahabzadeh, Senior Public Art Project Manager, Chris Milner from TY Lin, who's the Project Manager on the consultant team, Hunter Ruthroff, the TY Lin Bridge Architect, and Barbara Gregoudis, the independent artist who was selected for this project. With that, I'd like to go ahead and invite our Street Transportation Director, Joe Brown, to make some opening remarks.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you for sharing part of your evening with us to learn about the Rio Salado Bicycle and Pedestrian Bridge and Pathway. In a role like mine, it's tempting to say every project is special, but this one really is. And the U.S. Department of Transportation agrees and is providing substantial funding, $25 million, to build a bridge unlike any other in the city. The team you'll meet tonight is tasked with designing the first and only dedicated bicycle and pedestrian bridge over the Rio Salado. The bridge will provide a seamless, safe, and comfortable connection across the Rio Salado for residents walking and biking. More importantly, the bridge will be a gateway linking south to central Phoenix, opening new opportunities for education, employment, and recreation. The goal is to design and construct an iconic bridge that is equal parts functional and experiential. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the project team to walk you through the history and design alternatives.
Thank you, Heather and Joe, for this introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tarek Momika, City of Phoenix Street Transportation Department, and I am the project manager for this project. Today, the meeting agenda will include project goals and objectives, project scope and limits, backgrounds, history and current, concept overview, art integration overview, a project schedule, and next step, refine design options. In addition to what we included in the previous project team slide, I just want to, provide that we have a diverse team of professionals, members from the city, from the Federal Highway Administrations, consultants, arts, and public engagement specialists working together as a team to achieve the goals of this project. From pedestrians phase, design, and going forward to construction completion. The goal of this project is to achieve three main objectives. First is connecting our communities. Second is restoring and revitalizing the health of the Rio Salado River. And third is developing economic sustainability. So we can go explore how this project will help us reach these important goals. First, connecting our community from local connection perspective. As we know, South Phoenix has historically been disconnected from downtown Phoenix, with the Salt River acting as a barrier. Right now, no motorized travel between these areas is limited to high-speed, high-volume roads like Central Avenue and 7th Street, which are focused on serving cars. However, as noted on the slide over, 1 in 5 stakeholders in the project area don't have access to personal automobiles. This highlights the needs for safe, suitable, and direct transportation options like walking and biking. That's why the project aims to create easy connection between neighborhoods and improve accessibility. It will also provide a new efficient route that enhance transportation options for the pedestrians and cyclists. It will bring for sure people together, provide easier access to the community to interact with downtown facilities, events, and businesses, offering an enjoyable route for commuters. In addition to that, beyond the local connection of Phoenix neighborhoods, this project also represents a regional non-motorized link resulting in over 13 miles of low-stress streets, pathways along the Rio Salado. These pathways provide non-motorized connections between multiple cities, Phoenix, Tempe, Mesa, and even into Scottsdale via the Indian Bend Wash Path for a total network of over 20 miles of pathway with no anti-grade vehicular conflict or crossing at the completion of this project. Other goals are restoring and revitalizing health rivers and developing economic sustainability as the city transformed the Rio Salado from a dump site into a green corridor as it looks right now. So this project is going to protect and improve that work, preserving the beautiful ecosystem just miles from the downtown. This project is a big investment that will improve health, boost the economy, and support sustainable developments. Already, we can notice that on the horizon is the Arizona Fresh del Rio development, which is expected to provide hundreds of jobs. And this project will provide safe, convenient, non-motorized accesses, encouraging new developments and investments in the surrounding areas. And that's the goal. In addition to that, the South Central Extension Light Rail train station immediately south of this project is anticipated to stimulate considerable transit-oriented development adjacent to the project area. And currently in the work is about 80 acres of a new development on the southwest corner of Rio Salado and Central Avenue. That means the Third Street Bridge project will for sure enhance the economic sustainability of these developments and other upcoming investment by providing safe, comfortable, and direct access to economic opportunities. The bridge is to provide seamless, safe, and comfortable connection across, will be located across the Rio Salado for residents walking and biking. And also the project will improve southern bank trail of the Rio Salado by adding low emitting solar pedestrian scale lightings and amenities from Central Avenue to east of 4th Street. I will turn it over to the consultants team to explore the project history, design concepts, and an overview of an art aspiration and integrations. Thank you.
Thanks, Tarek. Been very fortunate to be partnering with the city on this project since it began in earnest with an initial project survey back in August of 2021. The results of that survey helped inform some of our design development, along with some micro engagements that's been performed by the Sagrado Galleria, who has deep connections in South Phoenix to help inform the inspiration for this project. We moved forward with a public meeting in October of 2021, which had a survey following it. And again, the results of that survey fed into our design concepts and the alternatives that were developed as part of the pre-design study. The city was successful in procuring a United States Department of Transportation RAISE grant in August of 2022 that enabled them to move forward into the design phase, which is where we're moving towards today. During the pre-design study, a preferred alternative was developed. It's called a basket handle arch, and it in many ways pays homage to the native peoples who originally inhabited the Salt River area. And also it's key as a preferred alternative because it protects the beautiful natural environment with a span that's long enough to respect and preserve the existing wetlands that are cherished in this area. Now, as we move forward into the design phase, our team has been tasked with taking a look at this design and refining it and improving it to better meet the needs of the community, which we'll see in this presentation. So we've gotten out our erasers and our pencils and really gone hard to work to develop concepts that are going to serve the community even better than this original pre-designed study concept. So in our current design phase development, we've been conducting preliminary engineering, which has included some permitting with some important agencies. We've been working hard to identify all the key stakeholders that we need to reach out to, any agencies that we need to work with, and make sure that we're engaging all the community. We had an intensive 2-day brainstorming and concept design charrette in May, and the Sagrado has continued with micro engagement activities with smaller stakeholder groups. Those smaller stakeholder groups are going to help us to identify additional elements that we can build into the project beyond what may be seen today. And today, on July 9th, we're presenting some of these refined design options, and really what we're here to find out from the public is we want to hear your input for what you like about these concepts as we work towards a preferred alternative. And to present these refined alternatives, we have joining us Hunter, who's our bridge architect, to go through some of the concepts. Hunter?
Thank you, Chris. Got a little bit of a lag on our screen here. Oh, yeah. So bridge concepts, we've got 3 that we're going to cover. The first one we call the spring, the second we refer to as convergence, and the third we refer to as union. So of the 3, we have 2 different kind of conceptual design approaches. The first is very much governed by performance-based design, which is to say that the arch needs to get over the wetlands, which is a fairly large span, but then also that's related to its proportion and sizing of its elements, right? So that's one part of the performance criteria. The second is really governed by shade, which is linked also to experience. And so that kind of conceptual approach is really governing the first 2 alternatives, while the third is a bit of a different one in that it's really covering parts of performance, but very much largely about kind of symbolism. And so we'll cover that once we get closer to it. So this first alternative we refer to as spring, and that is because of the kind of general motion that the arch makes as it jumps over the wetlands and then springs up into this parabolic gateway to the south entrance there. So in this area, what we can see is a north kind of plaza, relatively small. We have the main span jumping over the wetlands, the delta frame, which is kind of this triangle structure, and then a short span that comes into the fill. So the overall span is about 480 feet in this alternative. All 3 of the alternatives are about the same, with the exception of the third, which has another elevated length to it. The main span is 320 feet. The overall width of the pathway leading through the delta frame and the main span is 15.5 feet. So that's 5 feet for pedestrians and then 10 feet for bicyclists. As we can see here, the bridge splits as it gets to the abutment and kind of has this circular embrace of the central native desert plants kind of garden there. In the middle, we can see that the embracing kind of pathway is focused on an amphitheater with stairs up to the upper plaza, as well as seating, just to kind of take in your favorite kind of event there. This is a view from the southeast looking northwest, where we can really see kind of the form of the bridge here. I would point out, of course, the canopy, which stretches over the delta frame and onto the arch to provide ample shading. There's also shading integrated into the cables. This particular element is kind of a kinetic rope mesh. If you've seen the footprint center and kind of the orange movable tabs, it's very much like this. The difference being it's a different color. It's also dissolving and getting more transparent as you get lower and closer to the pedestrians. This is to provide shade up above, but also allow views outward. And so we can see the experience here is very much open to the views, but with lots of shade. And so our next alternative here we call convergence. It's a very similar type of structure, but with our first spring alternative, the arches kind of come up, don't quite touch, but with this one, they're in fact crossing over. The reason we're crossing over is to provide a much larger roof system in the main span to provide even more shade. And we've covered both the delta frame as well as the arch structure in a laser cut aluminum cladding, which has the silhouette of the salt bush. The overall span here is 550. It's a very narrow path leading in at 10 feet, but then once we get to the main span, there is large overlooks. So the path continues kind of forward, but then splits down to pathways which get you closer to nature and kind of more separated from the pedestrian path in the center here, which we can see. So the central path is flanked on both sides by plants, but then splits down to this overlook region. We can also see that there's integrated membranes into the cables so that we get shade in these overlook systems on one side or the other throughout the day. So in this view, we can see the path kind of sloping downward to this point with great kind of separation between the central path, very much focused on kind of the social aspects of the bridge. We can see amphitheater seating and stairs, as well as kind of a shade railing, which allows views outward, but also shade when you're kind of standing next to it. So our third alternative, as I kind of mentioned early on, was very different from the other two. So this one, very much, as I said, about kind of symbolism in its form. And the idea here is that we have this arch structure, which has kind of retaining wall seatings and a corbel that morphs and becomes the arch structure, and then kind of has this moment where it embraces the structure from the south. The idea is that the north and south both get their unique identities in the structures, and that there is a union in the middle, hence its name. So with this structure, its overall was 650 feet. Its overall width is 12 feet, so a little bit wider than the prior. Once we get into that south approach structure, the deck starts to kind of have a sine wave. So it wiggles, and then its amplitude increases as we approach the south landing. The idea there is that as it widens, we have opportunities for seating underneath the tensile ramadas. And so those ramadas have that, again, like the footprint center, that kind of kinetic cladding that moves in the wind. The idea is that that movement is really reminiscent of kind of the wetlands below and the fluid motion of water. So here's another view kind of in the main span there. This one underneath the tensile ramada. There's seating in the main span as well as planters. So it really feels like the park of the setting has kind of emerged and gradually kind of crawled onto the structure there. There's another view of the tensile armada. And right here, we can see kind of the benches being integrated along with the planters. The walls of the planters are kind of zeroing out and then becoming deeper for seating, and then kind of morphing back seamlessly into the landscape. So in addition to the bridge, this project includes adding amenities to the south bank between Central Ave to the east of 40th Street. The existing Rio Salado habitat restoration area includes several trailheads, soft surface trails, and hard surface trails, which will be complemented with additional seating and ramadas. Light poles and fixtures are anticipated to be similar to the city pathway lighting elements. Seating and ramadas will match existing amenity aesthetics. And so with that, I'd like to pass it off to Barbara to speak about the artwork that anchors the north and south plazas.
Thank you, Hunter. The City of Phoenix includes artists on their design teams for all their capital improvement projects. I'm Barbara Gregutis, the artist on the team. In reviewing all of the public surveys and input for this project, the item that surfaced most was the desire for the community to have thematic development that relates to nature. So I've developed 3 concepts that are designed to work in concert with the bridge, but also with the various bridge alternatives, but also emphasize an element of nature, the nature of this desert environment. The first concept, Alternative 1, is inspired by traditional ramadas. The title for this artwork is Woven Desert, because the ramadas are created with material gathered in the desert and woven together. The photo you see here of this style ramada that I photographed is one that I photographed at San Javier Mission. The artwork consists of a sculpture at the north and a sculpture at the south entrance to the bridge. The points of entrance to the bridge are then connected by a blue pathway symbolizing the river. The sculptures are designed to echo the feeling of the woven desert material. The sculptures are fabricated with rusted steel or painted steel. The final decision on the material will happen later on. These are concepts and will be developed as we move forward and we get community input. This sculpture, emulating a basket with woven material, is 12 feet tall and anchors the north plaza of the bridge. And this sculpture is a series of 6 elements that form together to create shade and have a feeling of soaring above the desert. And the blue river comes around in the concrete and surrounds them. The shadow patterns here are also very important, and you saw the shadow patterns on the bridge. I think that's going to be a very exciting mix of these shadow patterns, creating another layer of artwork. Art concept number 2 is inspired by the shadow patterns created by the salt bush. In this image, you see here the salt bush. In this image, you see the salt bush and how it is translated into design that can be laser cut into metal. Again, here, 2 sculptures, one at the south entrance of the bridge and one at the north entrance to the bridge, are connected through the bridge by a blue walkway symbolizing the river. The sculptures in this concept take a different form and are fabricated with laser cut material based on the salt bush shadow pattern. This is the North Plaza. It's a smaller plaza, and each plaza creates its own type of human space for human interaction. In this particular in this particular North Plaza, if this direction is selected, perhaps an astronomer could be engaged to create lines that line up with the solstice sunrise and other celestial events. This is the South Plaza sculptures. They create shade and pattern and create a space for people to sit and congregate. And this feeds into that beautiful desert botanical garden that's designed to the south. Art concept number 3 celebrates the sky and the clouds that bring rain. The sculptures at the north and south bridge entrances create small pavilions for each entrance. Again, these sculpture zones are conceived as gathering spaces and are connected by a blue walkway through the bridge, symbolizing the river which we are crossing. These sculptures have a very different feeling than the first 2 concepts. This is the North Plaza. Here, the sculptures are fabricated with aluminum, a perforated metal. This perforated metal creates very interesting moire patterns that are fascinating and beautiful when the light comes through them. You can sit within this plaza. On the north side, you can walk over the bridge and sit in the plaza on the south side. And here we are. This is the south side cloud pavilion. All of these three concepts are envisioned to have special lighting, no matter which is chosen. I'm turning this back to Heather so she can talk a little bit about the project schedule.
Thank you very much, Barbara and team, for sharing this inspiration and creativity that went into this. I'd like to talk now just a little bit about the project schedule and where we go from here. So we've completed the pre-design phase. That's the phase that took us through to 2023 and the winning of that federal grant. And we're now in the design phase. So we're working on permitting, we're refining the concepts. This is where your public input is really, really meaningful. So on the next page, I'll introduce information about a survey. We'll have paper copies, but the next step on this is really going to be to lock up that design, develop the cost estimates so we can hopefully have all the permitting in place and begin construction in about 2027. There are lots of permits and environmental requirements to work in and around the riverbed, and we have to be respectful of the environment as well. The next slide will tell you how to participate in our survey. We encourage you to please take a look at the survey. You can use the information on this page to dive a little bit deeper into this particular project. And as always, we welcome and embrace the input that you've given so far to get us to this point. So thank you again for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you.